remember extending a putter of mine, a Ping Answer putter with a wooden spoon at about similar age. That's when I started getting really interested and I wanted it longer and I couldn't wait. Maybe I didn't have enough Pro Shop credit to get them to do it and re-grip it. There was some reason, or maybe I just fancied it at home, yeah. And so I thought, well, what's long and thin? Leave it.
Hey. Hello, welcome to Kickpoint, the Golf Gear Show. Thank you for joining us for another episode, another week of Equipment Chat. Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. That took me by surprise.
It shouldn't. Oh, we should.
It didn't take me by surprise. We're doing a podcast. You just started very swiftly, about 0.5 seconds at the end of a conversation. But there you go. I liked it. Let's go.
Let's do it this week, Joe. We've got some shoe chat in a minute. You're looking forward to showing these people. I'm looking forward to showing these people. Reebok are back, and we wish they weren't. The Cool Board is coming back.
Yes, I love the Cool Board.
So we record these, for those who don't know, in batches. And we're doing 4 batches of the Cool Board with no feedback from anybody. So we don't know if you enjoyed last week's Cool Board or hated it. We liked it.
We did. We may have lost a couple of potential sponsors. We
haven't told the big bosses about it.
No. Yeah, we'll see how
that all goes.
See how this pans out. Yeah,
so if you never hear from the Cool Board again, that's why. As the pod is back, so we get to sing the fun jingle. And this week it's about funny tinkerings that you've done, Joe. Yeah,
I've done a few. Yes, I've got a couple written down that I can think of.
And I'm doing my worst eBay purchases. And then what's in the bag? Jason Day, 2015 PGA Champ. It's PGA Champ next week. So we thought we'd throw it back to one of our favourite champions of that event. One of our favourite bags of that event, Joe.
Yes, I am excited by that. And there's a lot of Grand Slam linkage we can do here because Spieth will, as always, be going for the Grand Slam at the PGA. He was second in this PGA behind Jason Day, and one of the most underrated seasons in golf for me, Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, you want to have a little moan and a rant about that.
No one mentions it anymore. It's like a forgotten year, and it was. Anyway, we'll come to that. We'll come to that. But now it's time for Joe's favourite part of the show. No one else's. It's the preamble, which now has a jingle. You ready, Joe? I'm ready.
I'm still not about this myself, but let's just try it again. Welcome to the preamble section, everybody.
Brilliant.
This is the part of the show that I tried to introduce that would happen naturally at the start of a podcast. Joe kept signposting it, and now it's got its own jingle. More importantly, Joe.
Yes.
We want the good folk, if you can, if you know someone has this sort of capability.
We don't.
I want to hear jingles.
You want the good folks. I
don't like this one.
Okay.
I don't like this one.
Wow.
And remember your mate, the Bag Doctor jingle? That went down a storm.
Didn't it just?
The episode's not come out yet.
Potential Christmas number 1.
Right. There is some slightly deeper shoe chat I want to go into here because we're going to talk about the actual Avoda irons more later down the line. But you met our man from Avoda, or the man from Avoda rather, a few weeks ago and ended up having a conversation about shoes and shoe depth. So I know what's coming, obviously, but fill the listener and the viewer into this conversation and the idea it sprung to for us.
Well, I rang you, didn't I? Excitedly.
Had to. Who else talks about golf shoes nowadays?
So Tom Bailey, owner and founder of Avoda Golf, he came down and visited me. He wanted to show me the new, it was kind of the new, it was a bit of everything really. He's got a few new concepts, some prototype wedges, some of the curved face irons that he's bringing to retail that not quite the same as Bryson's one, but the same concept. So we just went through a fitting, looking at new equipment. It was great. And just having a chat about, we had probably 2 or 3 hours together on the practice ground. It was great.
The lads.
He's got some, yes.
What?
And he's got, I don't know, it's just a weird thing to say. And he's got he's a very deep thinker and he's done a lot of testing on a lot of things. And he just made like a little throwaway comment about shoes to me. And he mentioned Spieth in particular and his theory on why Spieth's form dipped so dramatically in a period of time. And it was to do with the shoes. He said he was in the Spieth 2s.
Spieth 3s,
or whatever it was.
He was in a Spieth branded shoe with Under Armour, yeah.
And there's then since moved to another shoe.
The Drive Pro.
Still Pro, which has a lot of tech. And
he was part of the design of that, by the way. I'm slightly sskeptical of what he actually said here, but we'll get to the greater point.
Yeah, so maybe it's a wider point. But his point is he feels one of the biggest catalysts for Spieth's downturn in form has been his change of footwear. And he's done a bit of sort of independent study himself as to sole thickness and its impact on your posture, on how far away you are, obviously from the ground, what that does to your swing, whether the heel's too high or the toe end's too high, what that does to your balance points and things like that. And he thinks it's one of the most underrated things in golf. And he made a good point. He said, like, some of these sole thicknesses can vary quarter to a half an inch. And if someone at the end of a custom fitting just got your clubs and just lengthened them by half an inch, or change the lie angle to be a degree and a half flatter, which is what essentially happens to the playing characteristic of a club. If you get much taller and you keep the same lie angle, it will play a lot flatter. If you get half an inch taller, which doesn't sound loads, it's plenty in golf. And you'll see some, all other things being equal, you'll see some very different results in your ball flight simply by where those shoes position you vertically away from the ground. And we just got thinking, this is nuts. Like, why? And I've seen it and felt it myself. He just said to me, he said, have you ever just sort of gone to the practice ground or driving range one day and the club just doesn't look right behind the ball? Or you picked up an iron or something like that? I was like, yeah. And I'm someone who flits between like a trainer style shoe, or then some days if it's a bit soft, I'll wear something a bit thicker with a spike. And these shoes all have varying different sole thicknesses and different areas of thickness within that sole. And if you're moving up and down, things in your golf equipment that you work so fastidiously to sort out, all of a sudden, without even really thinking, just because you've changed your shoes, change. And I go and practice at the driving range in little thin trainery shoes, and we'll play in something completely different in certain conditions. And it's such an oversight, I think. And that's where I'm finished.
I've never seen you not get out of a point very well. You just stopped talking then. Your brain stopped.
Just finished.
Well, it's a brilliant point you made. I can't believe I've never thought about it, testing shoes all these years, because of course it is. And it made me think of two or three things. It made me think of one. Every now and again, I test a lot of shoes. I've got a lot. I go through a lot. I'm flitting all the time. I was testing some, it was the Under Armour Drive Pros actually, what Spieth wears. I just played unbelievable golf in them for the 2 or 3 rounds I was testing them in. Went to a different shoe that was a much lower profile and played a bit crap for a few weeks. And I thought, well, that's just me being crap for a few weeks and that's fine. And then I go back to the Drive Pro or something with a similar depth to the Drive Pro that's a spiked sole, and I play well again. And I had no reasoning for it. And as soon as you had this conversation
that
with me...
That could be coincidental.
Totally.
So you'd need to do a wider study and a bit more testing. On that. Yeah, obviously. But
what was I fitted? What shoes was I wearing when I was fitted into my clubs? So it made me think of a couple of things. One, whenever you get fitted in the shoe you mostly play golf in. I don't think everyone flits quite as often as we do between shoes because we've got a lot knocking around. But playing the shoe you most predominantly playing, because if it's spike shoe, couple inches off the ground, and that's what you play in, get fitted to that, right? Is that a fair statement from a former fitter?
100%, yeah. You see lots of people turn up for fittings in just like, not necessarily street shoes or work shoes, but certainly trainers.
But not their golf shoes, which could bring them, like you said, half an inch in a lie angle is a huge amount of display.
Yeah, and when I talk about those sort of levels of detail within clubs, and you're just making a mockery of it or making it completely redundant. And I don't know, you've mentioned before on the pod about, you need a couple of pairs of shoes. Have yourself a nice winter shoe, with spikes, have enough, maybe a nice spikeless summer, more trainery style thing. And that makes sense from a fashion and a comfort point of view. But maybe that's, if we're revisiting that, potentially poor advice. Because like you said, those days where the club just looks a bit wrong, that's such an interesting thought, and that could be it. And then secondly, Joe, it should be that shoe manufacturers are posting or making visible on their website when you're buying the depth of the heel. Yeah, that should be, in my opinion, as standard a measurement as the size.
Correct.
And the width.
Yeah.
So right, I do want to change shoes, I do want a different style, but I need to know I'm going to have my 3/4 of an inch.
It's bottom of the foot to end of the spike, whether that's a spikeless or spiked. You need to know, I think.
Is it end of spike because they then go into the ground, or is it just to the sole? Because do the spikes hover above, or do they embed enough to make, or is that turf dependent? Like,
that's a really good point, isn't it?
There's a few things to work out.
It's so hard to generalize, to standardize.
But that's the same with golf. Like, again, a point I'll get to in a later pod, the lack of standardization of a lot of golf is baffling to me. And that's certainly one. It would be a really useful measurement to have, even if it's just within your own range and you're going to standardize it within FootJoy or Adidas or whoever it might be. If someone else is measuring it differently, fine. But if you know within you're going to be an Adidas shoe guy and you're going to be in the Tour 360, but then you want to try the Stan Smith or the Superstars, whatever, but that's going to be 1/4 of an inch less depth, and probably to avoid it.
Crazy. It's a really good thought. So one just to go away with listener and viewer and just think about, I think.
Can I elaborate?
Yeah.
Gloves. No one thinks about gloves. The variable thickness of gloves is massive, whether you're using a synthetic all-weather glove, even if it's between Cabretta leather gloves. So something like the FootJoy Stay Soft is a lot thicker than the FootJoy Pure Touch. And we're talking a matter of millimeters, but in the interest of keeping everything as consistent as possible, if you're varying that glove thickness, in theory, if you've got a thicker glove, your hand isn't going to close quite as much on the club, and you might have a slightly different pressure than you would if you had a much thinner skin glove. And there's so many tour pros I've heard talking about gloves that I've been in this glove for years, I wouldn't change. And yeah, it's a familiarity thing, but there is an element of that thickness.
That's another interesting thought that I've had. Not an interesting thought I've had. That's giving me an interesting
You're
thought.
having one in real time.
Can you see my whole body's like convulsing?
Wow.
It's crazy. Sometimes I'll play well in a glove.
Do you need some air?
Give me the pump.
Just going to pump.
Give me the pump.
Just going to pump that up and then release the valve. There you go, mate.
Thank you, mate. That's what the pump's great for. Sometimes I play well in a glove. Sometimes I think it's because are you basically adventing here or
advocating? Yes, I'm not adventing anything.
Just to pick a glove and stick with it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll flip between loads of gloves because I've got some in the bag, some in the car, never using the same one. Sometimes I play well with one. Again, it's because I'm a very variable golfer. But even to the level of thickness as you've spoken about, but the logo on the bit of Velcro on my top hand, which is my right hand, recognizing the position of that every time. A ping glove I have, the logo comes more this way.
Yeah.
Does my hand get a bit stronger? A FootJoy glove I have, the logo doesn't go quite, does I weaken it because I want the logo in the same position? Gosh.
Even down to though, how are you pulling the logo the same width across the whole time?
Oh my God.
So have you got the same tension on your hand? I know
this is the problem.
I know we're getting...
I'll be soft scratch before you know it.
A little in depth here.
Some 25 handicappers listening now going... This is it.
I'm fixed. My slicer's gone. I've kept the same glove and I've pulled the Velcro the same.
It's food for thought, though.
Bernard Langer was an interesting... He used to... he hated the feel of a new glove. Are you like that?
No.
So I hate the feel of a new glove.
I love a new glove.
Tight and constrictive on my hand until it loosens up. Well, it says a lot about you. Until it loosens up and you've had a few swings and the leather sort of beds in a little bit and becomes a little bit more malleable. I find it quite stiff and tight. So he used to get his old caddy, Pete Coleman, I think, whose glove size was like maybe 2 sizes bigger than Langer's. So while Langer was warming up, he'd slip his sausage fingers into the glove, stretch it out. So when Big Bernie was ready to go, it was loose as a goose. So part of the caddy, part of that butler's job was to get the Cumberlands into the FootJoy and loosen it up.
So you've got Bernard warming up and his caddy not watching his numbers, checking the flight, just shoving his hand into a glove.
Stretching out gloves. That's part of your job.
Super.
Imagine that in the job description on Indeed.
Must have fat fingers. King Charles fingers. King Charles would be a great caddy for stretching gloves. Oh my, you seen them?
I think that'd be too much.
We've got to put the royal family to good use somewhere.
They'd be baggy.
You know what I mean? You just follow one. He's got a day off, sat watching the news or whatever. Just do a conveyor belt of gloves for people who just want their gloves pre-worn by the king.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you charge a premium for that, absolutely.
Classic. This is classic preamble chat. That's why we love it so much, isn't it?
Preamble chat.
But let's move on. So thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Some real food for thought there from the collection of the worst shoes I've never seen you react.
It's one of our better preambles. I couldn't talk about the shoes. We've gone to King Charles wearing in gloves for people.
It's about where we're at now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Should we move on?
We wouldn't have got this off the ground with this chat in episode 1, but that's the joy of it, isn't it? Hey, let's move on because it's time for our favourite part of the show, Johnny. Earlier than normal this week, it's Ask the Pod. With very familiar to the preamble, this bit, isn't it?
Similar, isn't
it? You ready? 2, 3, 4. Ask the Pod. Ask the Pod.
Ask the pod.
Ask the pod.
I'm sure we used to do clicking. Did we not do clicking?
A bit of something just to fill the air, but I've lost interest really. This is our favourite part of the show, and hopefully yours as well, because when you get to have a question answered by me.
Just
hell was that?
Just as we were doing the jingle, and Ask the Pod's come in.
Really?
Yeah.
Should we do a live one?
5 minutes ago, and I've just refreshed.
Is it any
David
good?
Chester. Hi, I'm torn between what set of ping irons to get, G430, G730 or G440. Currently a 23 handicap and just want the most forgiving irons I can get. I've read loads of reviews and just can't decide which one would be best. G730. Thank you. Moving on.
Brilliant. That was a live Ask the Pod.
You're welcome, David. Just going to delete your email now. Get that out of my life. G730 comfortably.
Boom. G730. Good work, Joe.
Thank you. Come on. What's
That
the
was
real one?
fortuitous. This is from Adam in Norfolk. Hello, Adam. Hi, chaps. Loving the podcast. It's really allowed me to lean into my inner gear nerdiness more than ever before. And that's what we're here for.
You're
Adam.
welcome,
Thank
Adam.
You. With that in mind, and having learned through the show since I've started listening that Joe is a keen builder and tweaker. You're a little tweaker, aren't you?
I'm
You
a
really. That's your ADHD brain.
Can you focus, please? Very
What's
silly.
the worst effort? Excuse me. What's the worst effort you've made at building a club? And what's the best effort you've made at building and tweaking a club? Dan, I know you won't have any answer to this. So what is the worst, best club purchase you've made online? Thanks, Adam in Norfolk. Thank you, Adam. Joe? Come on.
Best, I'm not going to...
You've probably got a lot
Best,
of
I think, yeah, I mean, best you just expect them to turn out well. Best is like
normal.
a Premier League referee. Like if you don't hear of them, they've done a good job, haven't they? So I'm not going to remember a particularly wonderful build. Like if they stayed together and they did what I wanted them to do, which a lot of them kind of do. So I can't really give you a highlight. There's loads of horror stories. I've had
Go on then, what's your
I
worst?
started pretty early actually. I remember winning a Terillium Scotty Cameron putter off a mate in a putting competition. High stakes, really, when you think
That's
back.
a high stakes putt. I was doing 20p a hole with people.
Yeah, no, we got quite big where we were. And it was a bit rusty and a bit tatty. And I thought, I've heard of people refurbing these. There's places before like Instagram and stuff where you can see how to do it.
Was it before the internet?
I'll give this a whirl. So I got my mum to take me to I was probably 13, 14.
Oh gosh, definitely then, yeah.
Got my mum to take me to B&Q, I think it was. Got a little bit of fine sandpaper, a bit of wire wool. Just said, I'm going to refurb this. This will be like brand new. You won't be able to believe it. And I've just destroyed this beautiful thing. I just scratch marks all over it. The copper at the front, the Terillium insert is just scratched beyond repair. I even started sanding down the cavity, where the little white dots are.
Yeah.
And they're like a rubbery. So I'm just scaving the top off them. It was an utter shambles. That one was a complete disgrace. That was probably one of the more expensive because now they go for like 500, 600, 700 quid.
If you just left it.
If I'd have just left it,
yeah.
And if I'd have sent it for a refurb now, if I still had it, it could be best part of $1,000.
Yeah, and you could afford better holidays than going on a bus.
Yeah, exactly.
On a broken bus. For those who listened last week.
Oh, why'd you remind me of that? Started early again. I remember extending a putter of mine, a Ping Answer putter with a wooden spoon. At about similar age, that's when I started getting really interested and I wanted it longer and I couldn't wait. Maybe I didn't have enough pro shop credit to get them to do it and re-grip it. There was some reason, or maybe just fancied it at home, yeah. And so I thought, well, what's long and thin? Leave it. I found a wooden spoon in the kitchen drawer. Funnily enough.
No way.
Yeah. Cut it down. Tried to pop it down the shaft. Remember, it wouldn't fit because it was too thin in the shaft. So there was nothing to hold it into place.
So it just went all the way down it?
Well, no. So I didn't let
thick.
it go. So then in within the shaft, then I had to like stuff some tape, I think it was, and wind some more tape round the wooden spoon shaft to thicken that out to the point it stopped. Then I glued it in with, I don't even know what I glued it. It could have been Pritt stick.
PVA.
It could have been anything. And then hacksawed it to like 1.5 inches longer that I wanted to, popped a grip on it and used it for quite a while. But I could, when you gripped at the top, you could actively feel it wibbling about at the top. So that was a pretty pathetic effort. I've never been a huge fan of extending clubs full stop. Might be to do with that, but it does massively affect swing weight as well. And then more recently, a few years back, I remember a Callaway Big Bertha 2-iron, struggling with driver for a little while. And I thought I was playing a particularly tight golf course in like the English PGA or something like that. It was, what's the course where King Charles used to take Camilla?
That's the second King Charles reference today. That's mental.
Bowwood. There's a cottage at Bowwood. It's tight and they grow the rough. And I was really struggling with drive, but I didn't want to give up to it. So I thought, what about if I make just an iron driver loft? And then it'll be shorter in length. So I've got this 2-iron, which I think started life at 17 degrees. Ooh. I've then bent that, I think it was 9 degrees stronger. So I got it to 8 degrees, this 2-iron.
What did that look like?
A monstrosity. It had about an inch of offset. It had 12 degrees negative bounce. So the leading edge was low. But it didn't matter because I was clipping. The bounce wasn't a problem because I would just peg it up and try and hit it.
Would you hit up on it? So try and smother it?
Hit up on it. Do you know what? It wasn't horrendous in terms of its performance. Like for that specific week, it was all right. But I mean, yeah, just the sheer, it was just a complete waste. It could never be used again. It could only be used for that one purpose on a very specific course. It's just a complete waste.
Horses for Courses
of a
club.
very nice original 2-iron, which I liked. But I was just like, it was one of those things. I've got like a day or two to go to the event, just worrying about losing loads of ball. Right, I'll try this. And then just bending it to within an inch of its life. And some people would say, a lot of people recommend in club building, you never want to bend more than 4 degrees, like combined. So if you go in like 2 degrees upright, you should only change loft 2 degrees, whatever. So I've gone whatever that was, 8, 9 degrees, something like that. And incredible that it didn't snap. So testament to Callaway's manufacturing.
Yeah, you really sort of stress tested that, didn't you?
So yeah, I've had a few. More recently, made a prototype broom-handled lob wedge. Howard, our videographer's got a great idea. He thinks it's he'll be cross with me if this comes out because he thinks it's
it will come out.
A great cure for or gets out into the wider world. Chipping yips because he's a bit twitchy with the chipping.
A bit.
So yeah, it's bad.
Bless him.
So he was thinking like if you anchor it there or not anchor it,
but as if you're brooming it in the modern way, yeah.
It will teach as a training aid good right arm function and stop the flick because you can't flick it if it's broom handed in. I made one for him. It's in the garage. Yeah.
No way. How did it go?
It's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. You couldn't use it on the course for length. You know, I think there's local rules on length and things like that. But as a training aid to train your right arm function, let's chat to your mate Dan Grieve about this. We can release the Grieve sweeper.
Howard works quite closely with Dan.
Howard loves Dan.
So I'll message him. I'll see if we can get some feedback on that as a training aid.
The Grieve sweeper.
Could be the Grieve sweeper.
Yeah.
Should I do some of my purchases?
Please do.
Often intoxicated.
Yeah.
All putters, strangely. So the first one, 2023. Been working at Golf Monthly for 2 years. Good connections in the industry. Lots of nice friends at companies who make putters. Right. I go onto eBay and go and randomly pick a Cleveland Huntington Beach 11 Premier putter for $69.99.
Give me some context. What were you?
Just fancied a new putt. Was putting like a D head.
Yeah.
And was like, I need a new one.
Now.
Yeah. And it was before one of our testing days, actually, at Golf Monthly, where we all get together as a big, wider editorial team and test apparel and shoes and around, basically. No, it's an important day of work. And I putted with it, right? Oh, it was awful. Didn't get fitted for it. It was like a fang shape.
I was going to say, what is the Huntington like?
It's like a mini fang shape with a milled face. I've never had a milled face putter. Don't like milled face putters. Bought it anyway. It was I like a bit of a toe hang. It was face balanced. Putted awfully with it. Embarrassed myself in front of my colleagues. Just went, why have I just spent 70 quid on that?
Lost 70
Putter
quid.
ones are the easiest one. When I was working at American Golf in Coventry, there was this. Someone had traded in a Scotty Cameron Futura X. Do you remember then? The Adam Scott big effing
units.
I'll bring a picture of it up now.
Irons.
Oh my God. And it was left-handed. And I don't see left-handed Scotty Camerons come through American Golf very often. It was traded and I was like, ooh. And every time it was quiet in the shop, or even if it wasn't, I'd go and start putting with it over on the putting area. Loved it. Could putt really well on a flat glass-like surface with it. And bought that for about 100 quid.
That would have been about 3 days' wages, wouldn't it?
Correct, yeah. It was like a lot of my money going back to the company that had just paid me. Again, face balance, again, milled face, putted terribly with it. Lost the head cover, which was an original. Tried to buy another one. That cost me 50 quid. Lost that again. So I was about 150 quid in the hole with this thing.
What a brilliant day's work for American Golf. They got like 2 or 3 free days labour essentially out of you and a percentage on the margin of that.
And you should have seen me as a salesman. I was lethal. That stuff I was shifting through there.
I can imagine.
And then a drunk eBay purchase. It was like a custom. I couldn't find the pictures of this. I went onto my past eBay purchases. I couldn't find it, but it was a left-handed ping answer. It was like no milling in the face. It was just one of those faces that's got no milling and no insert.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
I like a smooth face.
It's a smooth face.
Yeah.
And instead of ping in the right corner of it in the shoulder, it said lefty, and they'd painted it in.
That's quite cool.
And it was quite cool.
Don't mind this.
Potted like a dog with it again.
Okay.
And it was like 70 quid. So that's gone as well now. So it's all terrible putter. I'm sure people listening and watching have had similarly poor purchases.
Seems that the catalyst to these purchases or equipment tinkers are just one of two things. It's alcohol related or panic related, isn't it? You've got something coming up and you lose the logical idea that, right, this is a problem I need to fix. Okay, I can sort that out. Right, I'll put up with it for the next round. And then by the time, the next comp comes around, I'll have a nice new fitted something. It's open the laptop, get on the bay. That'll fix it.
It is. It's all loss of logic. It's loss of like that part of your brain that says, stop, think. What are you doing?
Silliness.
If you have any of those, if you're a tinkerer yourself or a purchaser like me, email us, kickpointpodcast@futurenet.com. Tell us your horror stories. We've all got them. Or accidental sort of, I bought a putter pissed on eBay and it was the best thing that's ever happened to me.
And I've had it ever since. Yeah. We'd like to see some good news stories as well.
Yeah, let's try and be more positive in this world. Okay, then it's time for a new segment here at Kickpoint, the Golf Gear Show. Introduced last week. We'll explain it again, Joe, shall we?
Is this the cool wall?
It's the cool board. Can't say cool wall.
Cool board.
Thank you, Rhea.
Sorry.
Bringing it in from off camera there. Here's the cool board because we ripped off Top Gear.
I'm going to put my laptop down for this bit because I can't remember what we've done here, so I'm not prepped. So
I don't think Top Gear's lawyers will be honest. They've got worse things to worry about at the minute after
Top Gear,
they nearly killed Freddie Flintoff. But we're going to call it the cool board. And if you're joining us for the first time, here it is. We populated it with 6 golf items and brands last week, and it's just us basically deciding.
Shall I give an update?
What is cool and what isn't?
So far on the board, in heinous, which is seriously uncool, obviously, we've got joggers and we've got people using tour bags that aren't on tour. In uncool, we've got Sunday Red, Tiger's brand, unfortunately. In meh, which means we're a bit ambivalent towards it at the moment, cool-wise, Lab putters. There's nothing in cool at the moment, but in ice cold, we've got visors and Malbon. That's where we stand currently. What's on the agenda?
What's cooler than cool? Ice cold. Outcast. Okay, so the rules, if you're joining us for the first time, me and Joe must come to an agreement on the positioning. If we can't decide, we have to imagine that we're using that item or wearing that brand in front of Miguel Angel Jimenez. Would he think it's cool? Because he's the coolest man in golf. And if he looks at it and goes, fair play, it's cool. If he doesn't even look at you, you're in big trouble. Yeah, exactly. Just because it isn't cool doesn't mean it isn't useful or a good product or brand. We're just deciding if it's cool or not at the minute. We are the judge, jury, and executioner. Or are we, Joe? Because there is a way you can get involved as well. Of course, the listener and the viewer. If we have positioned something on here today or in previous lifetimes where you don't like that, you hate it, and if 10 of you get in touch, again, we have more than 10 people listening, just not more than 10 people getting in touch at the minute, and that's fine. Apart from literally just
it's happening
now.
Live, mate.
So what I'm saying is, if we F up, if 10 people message us on anything, could be on a YouTube comment, a DM on Instagram, going to Joe's home address, as I said, which is listed in the description
below,
to tell him about that, we will then basically trigger a by-election and put a poll on our Instagram page to decide which category it should be in if we've messed it up. Okay? Everybody happy? Items and brands can be moved at any time.
You right? You there?
Right.
There's a lot of rules in this fun, isn't there? When are we over the rules? When can we just assume people know the rules?
14, shut up. 14-way.
For this.
14-way dividers in stand bags. Now, I'm going to come in hot here and say at minimum they're uncool. I cannot tell you for why I actually think that. I just look at one, and when I test one, I do test stand bags, see a 14-way divider and just go, nah. But why do I feel like that, Joe?
I don't know. I can't remember where you've mixed things up a bit.
Just have an opinion.
Well, I've got an opinion. For me, like
my opinion's written down.
It's as low as it gets for me. This is,
Wow.
This signals some real problems in a human's life. There's some people you see walking around who need control, who need help, who needs everything to make sense. Everything's got to be in a place. You go around their house, you put not there. Don't put your shoes there. Like that type of person. Like what are you doing? Like I'm a bit of a flapper. I'm an overthinker. I'm a little bit OCD with tidiness and things like that. But come on.
Totally.
Who in their right mind needs an individual slot for each iron? Like what's going to happen if you put the wrong one in the wrong slot? Like, is that a thing? Do people have? Is it just that they want a slot for well, presumably because you're only using one club at a time, it will always stay in.
Stay in the same slot exactly.
So what is it? They just need to know where it is so they can get it really quickly. What?
I just think people are a bit like thick. I just think they need.
Yeah.
Like a house, like no, one slot for my 7-iron goes in there and it lives in there. It looks terrible. It makes sandbags unnecessarily bulky because all of a sudden they're the size of houses. They don't all need to have a home.
I've got two things. Is the purpose, does it do anything to stop like the bag chatter?
No, not massively. There are bags that do that.
Like stops the they grip the
protector from Motor Caddy, which we'll maybe do. Not that specific model, but bags that stop club chatter. I'll fight them to the death. I'll die on
But again,
hill.
you're losing the plot there because that's functionally amazing. But is
Seriously,
it cool? Is it cool? Like,
back on this. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't think it does
start a
stop
campaign. If and I'm happy to stand by this.
Okay.
If you see anyone at your club with a 14-way divider,
kick them in the shin.
As Kickpoint listeners, if you could video this or send some photo evidence, if you could just, when they're not looking, if they've left it outside the pro shop or whatever, just rearrange it a bit, move their stuff about, put the drive where the putter should be, just freak them out. You don't have to film the reaction. If you can film the reaction and watch them melt and cry, that'd be really funny. But if you could just film the action of like, if you see these 14-way dividers, just mix them up a bit so they get to realise the world won't end.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And then they can just go get a nice normal stand bag with a 3, 4, or at most 5-way divider.
Yeah.
So we're going below tour bags in heinous.
Yeah, it's going to sit here by the lab jar. That's pathetic.
Wow, bro, it's off board. It's our first off board.
Lowest of the low, that. Get out.
Sorry, Joe, I have randomised this in my pile of cuttings. So you ready?
Yeah, oh God. Well, I might have to flip about again.
Black irons.
Start.
I will start on these because I think objectively a black iron, doesn't matter about the shaft so much, but a blacked out iron, they're niche. You don't see a lot of them. Whenever I do see them, I do think they look good in person. But what are they saying about the person that they feel the need to have a different iron colour? Just get the same as the rest of us.
Why get the same as the rest?
on.
That's like saying all dress the same. Like some people who think of a Harry Styles who wears like pearl necklaces and women's blouses and things like that. That's a very old thing to say, isn't it?
Such an old. That is what my granddad would say about Harry Styles.
But he's cool and he rocks. He does things his own way. He wants to be different. I see black irons as potentially that.
Okay.
But I'm a bit ambivalent towards them. Like, I'm fine with them. They don't offend me. I'm in the meh category here. I'm fine with them. They don't offend me or excite me in particular. If you were talking raw irons, that's a guy I want to know. The guy rocks up with a set of raw irons.
No, I totally agree.
This guy's interesting.
I don't care to know about this person. But nor do I think they're a bad
loser,
person or a loser.
do I think they're really cool?
No. I think we're in good agreement on meh. My issue with these, and it's one you brought up when I saw the T100s all blacked out at the PGA show, they do just tear up quite quickly. I mean, again, we're not talking about practicality here for the cool wall board. But they do, don't they? Why would you want that as well?
Always back to practicality with you, isn't it? Very. I'll preempt an Avoda iron. They've got a new black finish that we'll probably be able to talk about by now that I hit through a session at Saunton in sandy, linksy, rough turf for best part of 2 hours. Not a scratch on it.
Maybe they're getting better at that.
Bulletproof. So okay. I think there's scope there. So let's ignore the functionality. But yeah, I'm like,
so we're just
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to know you in the way I want to know a raw iron man. Or woman.
Yeah.
While we're here, what about like a blue iron? Or like those green ones that Mizuno bought out. I don't want to know that person because you're being too different now. There's boundaries here.
Yeah, and you're spending a lot of money to try and be very different.
I think I'm in
there.
agreement with you there. These aren't any more expensive than any others, I don't think.
Not necessarily.
I'll put the Forge Tech here.
Meh,
Okay,
happy with meh?
let's go meh. Below or above lab on meh?
I think...
As in like, so the higher up meh, the closer it is to cool. The lower down meh, the closer it is to uncool.
I think let's be kind. Let's go just above lab, I think. It's still not, it's in the middle somewhere, I think.
Okay.
I'm dreading where you're going next because I'm just flitting around my notes like a loon here. Why don't I just form an opinion live for this one?
That would help. Oh, bag tags. So bag tags from courses that you've played. As Joe scrolls away, we're just doing bag tags on courses that you've played. We could do a separate one for bag tags with your name on. I have a handful of them, so I'm going to be defensive.
You can't help that. A lot of these courses just inscribe your name as a memento.
Yeah, I get that, but I could also not put it on my bag.
That's true.
So I can help that. I'm in control. So what do you think about bag tags, Joe, and loads of bag tags dangling off someone's bag?
Cool at home. I like them as office pieces on your desk, on your little board.
Where are you dangling them off?
A little board on the wall.
Little board on
shelf,
the wall. Little shelf.
In your little memento drawer.
What are you on about? My memento drawer.
I've seen someone on social media on the line. Beth's golf.
Right.
She's got a little golf room where she collects little balls from courses she's played.
I like that. Yeah.
And mounts them. I think that's nice.
Okay.
You can look back on where you've been.
Yep.
That's cool. Just don't tell everyone about it. So at home, sound as a pound. Cool. On your bag, knobbish. Yeah,
no.
I've played here.
Yeah. And aren't we all, as golfers, trying to celebrate each other playing nice courses and
but
enjoying
you're not celebrating
the sport
each other by having your bag tag.
Yeah, because they could look at my bag and go, you played Greyhawk.
But all you're wanting to do is celebrate yourself and show them how worldly and travelled you are and explain how great you are.
Peacocking.
Exactly. That's not cool. That's never been cool.
Peacocking isn't cool, is it?
So for me, cool at home, knobbish on your bag. It's like leaving a festival band on your wrist for 2 years to tell everyone you went to Glastonbury.
It's a great analogy.
Gives and monkeys, do you know what I mean?
It's a great analogy.
Or a lanyard around your neck when you've been to some expo that makes you look important and says your name on in your job title.
The sandwich convention or whatever you've been to, the NEC that week.
Stop telling people about it. If you're cool, you don't have to go on about it. And if you just got your bag tags reaming about, this one I played Pebble Beach, so this one I played at the old course.
Especially when they're crap courses as well. They're just like some random corporate day you've been on.
Correct. That's where I stand, but it's not all about me, Dan. What do you think?
So I think you've actually won me over here. I carry a lot of bag tags on mine. I think a collection of bag tags on that little accessory hook on your bag, I think they look kind of cool. It adds to the bag. If you've got a plain bag, it's a nice bit of colour. It's a bit different. It's like putting your head covers on it. So that's where I stand on it. They do chatter together a lot, which is annoying when you go of all these lovely metal bag covers. And I have some ones with my name on as well. And the more I talk out loud, the more I hate myself.
Yeah, I think you're going off piste here.
Okay, then. You won me over there, Joseph. I was going to meh because
bag tags aren't cool.
I just asked.
If you listened last week, Joe's found a new thing.
I found Google Translate. Brilliant.
Google Translate.
Can make it say whatever you want. And it just said bag
want.
Tags aren't cool.
Oh, well, that's
what
that then,
it said
isn't
to
it? I was going to be like low on meh into uncool, but I'm happy to be like high on uncool. The high, I mean...
3/4 up uncool.
5/8, 6/8.
5/8 is fine. Just past halfway.
5.5/8, round up to 6.
Cool, that's fine.
Sick.
Well, that's good. Dan's pinning away. This appears to be the end of the segment, which could be a bit of a problem for me in terms of filling. However, what it looks like we've got next is a what's in the bag.
Whoa, there we go.
But we might have some administrative duties to do before then.
We do have some administrative duties to do. Thank you for that. If you have any suggestions for the wall, by the way, because I'm going to run out by the end of sort of 2 weeks' time.
I've just had a new idea of where we can put the stuff that goes beyond uncool.
Oh, hold on.
So we can leave the Reebok pump. I don't think we need a bin. I think this acts as the bin.
Oh, you put it in.
I think Reebok the pump there, and if anything is beyond uncool,
do you want to put?
It's going to sit in the little foothole of the Reebok pump shoe.
Very good.
That's where it belongs.
This is production live. We've had a lot of live stuff happen today, haven't we?
Exciting, isn't it? Shall I check my emails? There's some more content.
If you've got any suggestions for this, let us know. Email us, kickpointpodcast@futurenet.com. And again, if we've annoyed you, if you love a bag tag, 10 of you get in touch. Well, it goes to a blooming vote, doesn't it? It goes back to the people, doesn't it, Joe?
Yeah.
Because we're a democracy.
What do you think is most likely to have annoyed people so far?
Great question. I think visors, people can be like, what the hell are you two on about? We've put visors, for those listening, in ice cold, and i.e. the coolest thing. I don't think that's going to really tickle many people.
I think the lab putters are very divisive. Some people absolutely think they're the answer. Some people think what I'm saying is we might get 10 people going, it's a disgrace, they're ice cold. We might get 10 people going, it's a disgrace, they're absolutely heinous.
Well, then democracy falls, there's a coup, they charge the palace, the army take over, and we lose kick point forever.
We'll just find out who Miguel's agent is, and we'll ring Jimenez, and he can actually make the call.
That would be the peak if you get Miguel on one day and actually ask him, is it cool? And he goes, sí. Or,
sí.
No.
No. Yeah, that's very true.
Chomping on a cigar in the background.
If we could find Miguel, mate, this is a great idea. If we go to a senior event, we need him for 10 seconds, right? And we need him to go with a cigar in his mouth, see, and blow a puff of smoke, and then we stop rolling, and we then film, no, with a puff of smoke. That's all we need from him. And then we can play it that. Right. I'm making a note of that.
Emails now while I do some admin. So yes, you can email us with suggestions for that. If we don't like any of that, we can try and change it, but we need your correspondence. For that, some admin, follow us on things, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, subscribe, follow on podcast platforms and review if you can. Anything you can do to help the show grow is much appreciated. If you're enjoying this content for free, Joe, yeah. The Kickpoint newsletter is a brand new newsletter that's available to anybody, quite frankly. What are you doing? You're putting me off over there.
Just emailed you and said, go to senior tour event, speak to Jimenez.
Okay, cool. You put a pin in it.
Yeah.
The newsletter, Joe.
Yes.
We need to do a better job than I did last week of this because I sort of flitted over it.
I'll take it. It's the greatest piece of literature you will ever lay eyes on. It's got everything. It's got kind of like a rundown of some of the best bits we're talking about, some of the things we've tested, just some of the stuff in the equipment world that we've stumbled across, and we bring it to life with a vocabulary and a verb that will just blow your mind. We also sift out some of the best deals. Think Martin's money-saving tips, but for golf.
What a great analogy. You're on it today.
Full of them.
You're on it today.
So think that, but better. The guy's a rank amateur compared to the deals we're digging out. Things that make you go, which have raised my eyebrow. I will chuck those in there.
I can't raise my eyebrow.
There's links to other things, is there?
There's like so there's also, I mean, if that hasn't sold it yet, I don't know what. I mean, don't spam you. It's one a week.
And it's free.
Yeah, thank you. And you can sign up, www.golfmonthly/newsletter. And then, Joe, the magazine. Come on, dude, we can do this in like 10 seconds now. Yeah. How much is one?
$5.99.
How much are three?
$5.
There you go.
Unbelievable deal. Get on it.
www.magazinesdirect.com/kickpoint. I mean, forgot there's not a better financial decision you can make today. One would be to save £5.
That's a push. But it's still a really good deal.
Yeah, it's a great deal.
Yeah.
And we want people to read our lovely magazine. You get to see mine and Joe's equipment content in there, Sam Diath's equipment content in there, travel, tips, features, interviews with some of the best players in the world, news. It's a great bit of journalism, and there's nothing like having a magazine in your hand, I don't think, Joe, especially one as premium as Golf Monthly.
Yes.
What's in the bag time? Johnny boy, what have we been waffling on for? We did an hour and a half last week.
I feel like this is running on a bit quicker.
53.
Oh my God.
Right, I'll get this knocked out in 3 minutes.
Oh God. Oh, we do have to talk. Okay, the what's in the bag this week, Joe, which is Jason Day. We're coming back. It's brought to us, Joe, by Joe.
Golf clubs for
Yes,
cash.
I'm just finding the read. Now, we know golf clubs for cash, don't we, Joe? This one's a bit more scripted, but if you want to jump in, let me know, yeah?
So I start one and you fill in the blanks. Golf Clubs of Cash are one of the leading retailers of pre-loved equipment, and that's what
they're a retailer of great value pre-owned golf equipment, Joe. I wasn't far off. You can choose, Joe, from woods, irons, putters, bags, and more. Guess how many items they got in stock, Joe? Don't be stupid now.
2,796.
Over 40,000 items in stock, Joe.
Shut
Guess how many
door.
5-star Trustpilot reviews they have, Joe?
7.
50,000
Shut the
5-star Trustpilot reviews.
That's more than clubs they've got.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable.
That's how much people love them, Joe, and how much people trust them to give them great value pre-owned golf equipment.
Do you know what else they've got?
Go on.
They've got shafts you can buy. So
yes.
They've got a tour issue section, so you can go and buy tour-only equipment. Unlike many other pre-loved salespeople for golf equipment, you can alter your... That was poor, wasn't it? You can alter the specifications of your club. So you can get the shafts, you can change the adapter on the shaft. They'll do that for you. They'll change the loft and lie. You can change the grips. You're buying secondhand clubs, but you're fitting them and tailoring them to yourself. That's a brilliant service, genuinely.
And well said.
Thank you.
Well, blooming said.
And the app. Have you seen the app?
I have seen the app, and you're sure to find what you need, Joe, at Golf Clubs for Cash. You can
That's not true. You can't say that.
You can.
Can you?
It can. I just did.
Okay.
You can shop their website, Joe.
Yeah.
As you and as you just said, you can download their app, which is way easier because you're just on your iPad, on your phone, have a little scroll through, see what you want to get there. Or you can visit their stores, Joe, in
Glasgow.
No.
Edinburgh.
Yes. And
Warrington.
boom. Not Glasgow. Do not go to Glasgow. You can go to Glasgow.
Do it on the way to Edinburgh.
Thank you, Golf Clubs for Cash. Genuinely really appreciate the support. Great to have a brand like that on board with the podcast, isn't it, Joe? And because they're looking after this, they paid for it. We're going back in time to talk about some equipment that's still available now, but it's a little bit older.
Yeah, I don't want you to go on to the next section because you said we'll also talk about what he's playing today.
Nah.
Didn't fancy that.
That's fine.
So I've done the older stuff because
and that's better for Golf Clubs of Cash because you can go and shop some of this stuff that Jason Day was playing. And let's take ourselves back, Joe. 10 whole years now.
Yes.
To 2015. What was going on in the world? What were you doing?
2015 I was at Celtic Manor. Probably just started as head pro. Yeah.
Great.
That would have been, was that the year I met Rory when he came to do that clinic? 2014, maybe?
15 we're in here, mate.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry.
If you don't mind, you just sprung a question on me. If you let me workshop it through in my brain, that'd be lovely before answering. But anyway,
let's just sit in silence until Joe figures out what
was going on with Jason Day. He was busy winning the PGA Championship at Whistling Straits. Love that course. What do you think of it? Ryder Cup course?
Yeah, love it. They're beautiful. Sort of like linksy, but on a big lake.
Don't rake the bunkers. It's all rough and ready.
Lake Michigan, which is on the banks of, is mind blowing.
Really?
It's a lake. And it looks like a sea. It's huge. And then I've been in it physically. And then when you go in the sea and you expect to like get salty water in your mouth, it's fresh water.
That's crazy.
Crazy, man. Anyway, love Whistling Straits.
Lovely context around there.
Love Whistling Straits.
So that was the culmination of some great golf for Jason Day. He was just world number one or about to become world number one. He was at the very peak of his powers and he was right in that conversation. People love to have that conversation about who's the best player who's never won a major. He was the guy for a little while. He'd been up there. He hadn't any like sort of crushing defeats any collapses or anything like that. But I remember him coming very close at the Masters. He just wasn't really fulfilling his potential in the majors and he was just playing so well. It was just getting out of hand and it just all came together at Whistling Straits and it was one of the best driving displays I can remember seeing. He was just hitting these bomb high draw 300, 310 carry in wind, like never really mixed up his ball flight, wasn't one to peg it down, hit a squeezy one. He would just peg it, drop inside it, hit these high bomb draws everywhere and my God, it was such a weapon. And the height of his shots and the launch of all his shots are something that's a theme with his equipment and how he sort of counteracts that, but still, we'll get to it, but it was very exciting. One thing I do want to mention, have I gone off on one? I think it's the ADHD.
It's like you had voices in your head on either side telling you, what about that? What about that?
And they're all pulling.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to mention, 2015, I'll tell you who was playing well.
You want to have a little rant here, and I'm all for it.
Yeah. 2015, in doing a bit of research for this, I sort of re-triggered my memories of what was going on then. And we've just had the Rory Grand Slam. Brilliant. Everyone's going bananas. And rightly so, because what an incredible achievement. But Jordan Spieth very nearly did that in a single calendar year. Something that no one's ever done. And he very nearly pulled that off in a calendar year. And when I say very nearly, you don't get much closer. He won the Masters. He won the US Open at Chambers Bay. He was one shot out of the playoff to continue to make it 3 in a row at St Andrews. One shot out of the playoff. And then he came second in this PGA Championship. What a season. I've heard like recently people going, I've heard some podcasts and some other chat around he needs a few sponsors invites at the moment to get in certain signature events because he's had some injury problems and he's had a slight lack of form as well. Give the guy whatever he wants. Like if he wants to play an event, this guy nearly pulled off the career Grand Slam and he could very soon after this podcast join Rory in that Grand Slam Cup by winning the PGA Championship.
Yeah.
Like, people forget how close he is. Why does every year we have this massive build up to Rory and people go, oh yeah, Spieth could win it here at the PGA, by the way. It seems to be so underappreciated and I know this is Jason Day what's in the back.
No, but you're right. But why do you think that is? My theory is, when Sebastian Vettel kept winning in the F1 and Novak Djokovic kept winning in the tennis, people get really bored of the same bloke rocking up and winning everything. That happened with Spieth in 2014, 15, and it was just knackering watching him win everything. Some people don't like. I'm fine with that. Some people don't like watching that. And then his fall from grace, as it were, after that Masters kerfuffle, the second time, has just left him in such a sort of pit of lack of form. Everyone's kind of forgotten about it, which, rightly so, I'm totally on your side here. Why are we forgetting that and disrespecting that? I saw another podcast forget that he was the next Slam winner. They thought Scotty was next in line.
Yeah.
I was like, why are we all forgetting?
One of the three.
He needs 4 good days in May, once at some point in the next 20 years of his career, to be another Grand Slam winner.
Yeah, I don't really buy the argument about it's just people get bored because you're a serial winner, because that didn't happen with Tiger. It didn't happen with Scotty last year, winning 9 events or whatever it was. People were just, what a machine, we love this guy, couldn't get enough of him. And I don't see that as the argument. I honestly don't know what the answer, but it just feels like for what was a monumental, the best major season there's possibly ever been. I mean, Tiger won
since
3.
Tiger's Slam,
But Tiger's Slam spanned over 2 seasons, didn't he? He won 3. I suppose Tiger's was definitely better, actually, before the comments come in. But it's a close second.
So what driver was Jason Day using?
Jason Day was a TaylorMade player. TaylorMade staff, and this was right in my era, 2015. So like I said, it was at Celtic Manor. I was probably a TaylorMade ambassador at that point, so I was loving all the TaylorMade stuff. And he played the R15 460 driver. He had the 10.5 head, which for a high ball hitter is an interesting one, but had it tuned down to 9 degrees. Do you remember the R15 heads? It had a big sliding weights on the sole.
I had an R15.
Okay,
one of my first drivers. No, it was R11. I was R11, as you were. I remember the product range, though.
Yeah.
So what was he in? Sorry, R11?
R15 460. So it had the weight track at the front. So this was a big thing back, TaylorMade, sort of SLDR, R15, even into M3, the big sliding weight track. Some of them were bigger than others. Some were forward, some were an H track, some were all over the place. This was kind of a forward one.
Yeah.
And he had the big sliding weights both slightly towards the heel side, so encouraging a little sat together,
holding hands,
but coming to the heel side.
Yeah.
In this, so like I said, he tuned it down to 9 degrees, which opens that face angle, but takes the loft off because he's a big high ball hitter. Now, a lot of people some people think when you get a draw of the ball, he tunes like a TaylorMade head down to open that face angle. It's because they're trying to counteract that draw. Most of the people I hear in the know that know what they're talking about, it's all about start line. Because they're drawers of the ball, they need that ball to start to the right. They're not trying to diminish their draw any. They're just trying to ensure with the face angle open, the ball's going to start right. That seems to be what a lot of people use that for. Mitsubishi Rayon Korakage or Korakage. I don't really know how to say that.
I've never had to say that word out loud before, so I wouldn't know. You know, when you get that, you see a word on paper, like, I've never had to say that.
I heard a lot of people, I'm going to go with Korakage because that's what I heard a lot of the tour staff calling it.
Yeah, go with that.
The S-Tynite 70X tipped an inch. Now, this is actually it has a bit of a cult following, this shaft. So Fleetwood still plays it in some of his more lofted fairway woods. Had it in driver for ages. I think he had it in his blue Nike 3 wood as well, Nike rather. Talking about pronunciations that he played for a long, long time, and it's a really interesting stuff because it was really very stable, but felt the complete opposite. It felt really smooth and almost soft. The Tynai stood for titanium nickel, which was a titanium nickel wire that was added to the tip section. It's basically like a premium elastic wire that would flex, but immediately sort of spring back to its original shaping. In it added a bit of stability to the tip. But because it's kind of elasticy, it just added sort of a smooth and a soft feel to it. And it, like I said, it's a real sort of cult following of that shaft. There's some players that have, do you remember when we spoke to Blandy and he had a backlog of Diamana, I think it was the Ahina shafts. There'll be players out there, like probably a Fleetwood, who have a backlog of that shaft
ready to go.
It's not
in production
I've really
anymore.
Seen. It's not in production, but I've not even seen it well replicated. It doesn't surprise me that Fleetwood's gone into. He's been dabbling with the Ventus Red in his driver and his mini driver because, in my opinion, I mean that's a very smooth profile. So it's less harsh than the black, for example, or or a Diamond or whiteboard or something like that. Those sort of stout feeling shafts. It's got a bit of fluidity to it, so it's no surprise that Fleetwood is a player. I keep taking it off Jason Day here.
No, it's fine. We'll stick with Jason Day. I'm looking at R15s on the Golf Clubs Cash website now. Loads of options, even a little left-handed one, Joe.
How much are you picking up an R15?
$102.99, Joe.
It's exceptional.
It's in decent nick as well, you know. It's just as easy as you like on the Golf Clubs Cash website.
Like it. 3-wood I'm looking forward to because this is a 3-wood I played in. One of the all-time most underrated golf products. Possibly because of the really name. Sorry.
We can bleep that.
And the even worse graphics. The Aero Burner. The TaylorMade Aero Burner. It was the 3HL.
That is a bad name, isn't it?
It had like a little flamey like graphic on the top, underneath. It wasn't a fantastic looking club, but blimey, this thing was an absolute rocket. I had it in a TS, a Tour Spoon version, like a
Tour Spoon version,
like 13 and a half, 14 degrees or something like that. And yeah, it was like a driver alternative. It was a joke, but he again had a penchant here for changing it up. He had a 16 and a half degree head, the HL head, but bent to 14 and a half degrees. So bent to take 2 degrees of loft off it, but again, opens up that face angle again to produce the start line that he was looking to do. Do you know much about bending woods?
I was watching Trotty on his channel bend a 9-wood slightly strong. Yeah. And I was like, how the hell I get the concept of bending an iron. I've seen you do it. Bending a wood because it's less obvious the loft and the shaft's often graphite instead of steel and irons. I thought, well, he's going to snap it.
Yeah.
It's bizarre how that works.
It's a risky play.
Yeah, is it?
There's quite a high failure rate. So
what does failure look like?
Snapping.
Oh, really?
Just snapping the head completely. Yeah, snapping that hosel bit off the head.
Because you're clamping it down still. And
a lot of people didn't clamp was the problem. So basically, if you go in the TaylorMade track, and I think most of the tracks now actually, they'll have specific molds made for each model of head because you've got to mold it. There can't be any wobble because if you start to get that wobble, things are going to snap. So you've got the molds made for the head, compresses down, and they're made of presumably some kind of soft rubber or something a little softer. Pin that head into place. And the procedure used to be apply a little heat to the hosel to make it a bit more malleable, but I don't see many people doing that anymore. So maybe they're making the hosels a touch more malleable to start with. I don't know. But then it's literally just like bending an iron, bending it into the loft or the lie angle that you want, so people can still play their bonded hosel fairway woods, which we know seem to be still massively popular on tour, but still have them personalised to the lofts and the lie angle that they want to see them. So that's something we can get into a little bit more, actually, into a little bit more depth at some point.
Definitely another pin to put in that. Aero Burner is incredibly strange. Again, Golf Clubs Cash website, $59.99 for another left-handed. I'm on left-handed watch here. Aero Burner 3HL. Strange looking thing. Again, carries that white head across, but Aero Burner, I mean, not their strongest marketing move.
Yeah, it wasn't great. This was kind of like, they had a little period where they would release kind of 2 ranges at once. So it was like R15 and Aero Burner. And yeah, obviously you'd have like M1 and M2, but I remember Rocket Balls was released with something. That might have been SLDR and Rocket Balls at the same time. Anyway, they so kind of releasing 2 ranges, one which would be aimed more kind of better player, tour player, and one that was, so Aero Burner was really aimed at not the player market, but then they did a couple of TP versions of Aero Burner, and yeah, I mean, just it felt very the head when you hit an Aero Burner feels almost hollow and a bit empty, but the ball speed's just exceptional. I played that absolute lightning. Yeah, love that. That's one club. In fact, I might do some diving on Golf Clubs of Cash after this and see if you can find me a TP version in a TS head at some point. That'd do nicely. Keeps the same shaft as he does in the driver, just goes up in weight, 80x, tipped 1.5 inches. And yeah, like I said, for me, one of the most underrated products of all time. Like I said, these names you've got to be careful with in the graphics because you can put people off straight away. But sometimes you get a product that will cut through in terms of performance. You could name it the TaylorMade Poop Stack, and it would be absolutely fine. And that's the case there. Irons, TaylorMade. So start with his long iron actually, because he flitted between a couple there. So he had the TaylorMade RSI 2 in a 2 iron. So again, the RSI, they did an RSI TP, which would be the tour model, and then the RSI was a standard one, had a little bit more offset, a little bit more chunk to it, and he used that in a 2-iron, had it at around 16 degrees, but you also flitted between that and, which one was it? It was the UDI 1-iron, the original UDI 1-iron, both at 16 degrees. The UDI 1-iron just had a bit more chunk. It was almost like a half iron, half hybrid.
Very pretty. Like, this website's so easy to go control. Yeah. Couldn't call you Jake then. Somebody else entirely. RSI TP3 UDI, very pretty looking thing.
Yeah, again, something I played around that time. This was basically my bag. Maybe I had a bit of influence here. I mean,
if you were being looked after by TaylorMade at the time, they're going to put you in something fairly similar, aren't they?
Yeah.
Class. Sorry, Joe's just buffering everybody.
But so I thought you sounded like you were going to say something.
I'm lost in the website. I'm enjoying this little shopping trip I'm doing.
He loved the long iron. I never really saw a day in 5 woods, 7 woods, hybrids, anything like that. So he was always a 2. Back in the day with his speed, he was always a 2-iron and 1-iron kind of a player because he just had so much launch. He had so much speed. He was one of the quicker players on tour, and probably why he has such weird specs for his irons. So at this point he played the 4-iron to pitching wedge in the RSI TP iron.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the slightly slicker version, basically the P7 CB of its day. So the sort of the smaller cavity, better player cavity iron. Had little speed slots in the 3 to 7 iron, and then didn't further down, which has kind of gone away now. They still do that in like P790 and P770 to an extent, but in the TP range, or their player models, they don't do the speed slot thing anymore. But he had these bent between 2.5 and 3 degrees strong.
And so stronger,
less loft.
Help me out with the offset. How would that make it look?
Way more.
More?
So tons of offset in his irons. Yeah.
What do you think that was?
Well, he was pure launch. So everything about his iron setup at that time with his speed was centered around trying to keep the launch down. So everything he had was bent stronger. Everything he had kind of that right feel to it with the woods. And even when you go into the shafts in these irons, this is a shaft we've not discussed yet, which we might need to do a deep dive on. And I think he had quite an influence.
I'm sick that week.
in the development of this shaft from memory. The True Temper Dynamic Gold X7 shaft. So think of like the X100 that is in almost every tour player's bag that we do.
Yeah.
This is, it's basically the big brother of that. It's like 3 or 4 grams heavier, a slightly stiffer overall profile. This is the lowest launching, lowest spinning product in an iron shaft that I've ever tried. So if you're someone who's got excessive launch and excessive spin, but you've got some speed and some strength, that's one worth considering. And if that doesn't bring your ball flight down a little bit, then just pack up and try something else, because 133 grams, it's a proper beast. But the always used to surprise me, that 2.5, 3 degree strong thing with his irons, simply because of the excessive offset that would add, the lack of bounce.
So is it Billy Horschel who weakens loads of stuff to take all that offset away? Is that because a fade wasn't a very fashionable shot shape? I don't think. It's been more into fashion. I mean, you don't see guys like you just describing Jason Day hitting these big towering draws all the time. Maybe
Rory. Not really. There's very few.
Aside, they favour the fade now, so it has changed the way equipment's being built.
It's a good point, actually. Yeah, and some people just actively. It's the exceptions to the rule. Some people love offset, like Montgomery. Like I said, when we used to deal with Precision Golf, you'd bend offset into irons. He'd want them weak to start with, so you could bend them to get more offset into. And Langer was the same. He would just like gooseneck the irons
while his caddy's got his hand in his glove,
while Sausage Fingers is stretching out his gloves. All that kind of stuff. Is that from this episode?
I don't know. We've been talking for so long. It's basically tomorrow.
Right. Okay. Let's move on to the wedges then. I'm going to gloss over the wedges because I hated these wedges. I'm sorry.
You? Go on.
I love golf clubs to cash, and you can find some great stuff. Just
don't buy these. Yeah.
The Tour Preferred EF wedges from TaylorMade, 54 and 60. The ATV sole, which stands for All Terrain Versatility, which I hated that sole for a start, because it's just basically patronizing marketing telling you that, we've created a sole that will work in all conditions, and all they did is just like shave it at every conceivable angle in every part. It looked like the pyramids It was just such a weird soul, like, and then it's asymmetric, and just use weird words like asymmetric, convex, concave, versatility. It's like it's just a mess. And like I wouldn't know where to sit that to make, and I didn't like that. Didn't like the look of the wedge from the back. Very fussy badge, plasticky. It was a really tough period. There was a period of time where TaylorMade got wedges really wrong for me, and that was
they've had to really work hard,
and they have, like the Milgrom range is brilliant,
yeah,
and you wouldn't get a Rory playing it through the bag unless it was a really high quality wedge. They've done a really good job in turning that round and creating some really genuinely high quality wedges. These weren't
one of them. And that's fine.
I hated them. Putter. TaylorMade Ghost Spider, itsy bitsy, teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini. No, the itsy bitsy black proto. So it was taken from the previous iteration of his famous red one that I still think I've seen him knocking about with today.
In the bag now.
Okay, there you go. So he took this one and he wanted a bit of red as a reference to the deadly redback spider. So originally, when he made the red one.
Yeah.
The redback spider, because he wanted his putter.
Is that
to
a
be
real
deadly.
thing?
And then he got, this is true. This is what he did.
That's uncool.
I think that's uncool.
Yeah,
we
okay,
can
good. Sorry,
go,
Jason.
Have a retro cool board.
Oh, God. I can't go back to hobbycraft.
I think you can. Don't know loads about this version of it, to be honest, but it was a slant neck like Rory's now, so little slanty neck with all the toe hang, no sight line. So he was someone who likes the natural feel of putting. He doesn't like to be constrained by lines and precise aiming. He just big feel guy, big visualization guy. Sees lines on the greens to visualize the ball breaking, but likes to just not have an unobscured vision of that to line up with. He was big into loft. I remember that. I remember seeing a load of videos around that time. Him and I think it was Trotty actually, who was looking after putters for TaylorMade at that point. I remember seeing a load of different slow-mo videos of Day kind of from worm's eye level looking at the player.
I've not heard that phrase before. I like that. Worm's eye.
Worm's eye, okay. Worm's eye level looking at the player, so the phone would be on the green, and then you'd watch the little spider coming in and out of shot, and they'd draw a cross on the ball to see when and how it started rolling. How early is it skidding? Is it top spinning? How is it launching? And that's actually a great thing that people at home can do to see if they think their putter's suitable in terms of loft. So if you're laughing like people don't do this. People do this. I do things. I know. You can just pop your phone on the floor, facing you, worm's eye level.
Worm's eye. I've got worms and spiders. I'm getting a bit lost.
Get a Sharpie cross on your ball, facing the camera.
Yeah,
and then you'll be able to see in a slow-mo video, which I'm sure you probably got access to. In an ideal world, and there's some different thoughts on this, which we'll continue to get into as I highlight different people's opinions in the golf world. A good frame of reference is if the initial few inches, it's not rotating either way. If it comes off like a dead...
Skidding.
Not skidding. Skidding I think would be kind of rotating backwards. I think that would give it the skid and the skim. And you don't want it rolling straight away because you probably hit it into the ground. If it comes off and that cross doesn't orientate much for the first couple of inches before it hits the deck and starts rolling, that to me is a good midpoint of loft stats. But he was big into that, and he would move his loft around when he was playing Pebble Beach, which was a bit longer and bobblier. He'd have more loft. When he was playing Augusta, he would take loft off it. So he would always match his putter loft to the greens. I remember that specifically about him. Ball. Again, I was not a huge fan of this ball. The TaylorMade Tour Preferred X. As with the wedges, I found this a genuinely inferior golf ball to the Pro V1 of the era. So it's things have tightened up between the premium or the best and the rest. Now, if you can still consider, a lot of people would still consider the Pro V1 to be the benchmark in balls. The Chrome Tour from Callaway, the TP5 from TaylorMade, they're all very, very close, if not as good as that ball now. But that wasn't necessarily the case even 10 years ago.
Wow.
You were giving up a fair amount of ball speed, like 3 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour, I would put on your testing. It wasn't as bad as the Penta that they had before. That was a shocker of a ball. Was up there with the Reebok pump, that one. But yeah, I mean, he obviously made it work, and there was obviously some contractual obligation there. But
God, you'd be fuming if your contract had you 3 or 4 mile hours slower ball speed.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not happening anymore. But I think 10 years ago isn't that long, but it's a long time in golf club manufacturing, golf ball manufacturing.
And it might have just been a good fit. There might have been something he was gaining back in a spin characteristic that worked really well for
Yeah,
him that
right.
made giving up that mile per hour, which, again, everyone's difference will be slightly different. There you go. That's a profound statement for you there. Everyone's difference will be slightly different. If it's 3 or 4 miles an hour for me, it could be more or less for Jace. But, you know, he was in that ball. He won with it. I can't tell you much more. It was 10 years ago, for Christ's sake. Right. In grips, he used the Golf Pride, the goat of them all, the Golf Pride BCT Tour Velvet, so the corded version of the Tour Velvet, logo down, Tiger's grip. He was a big Tiger fan growing up, and he had the same spec as Tiger.
Tigers, spiders, worms. It's like an episode of Animal Planet.
It is. Like the skinny grip, never had any extra layers back in the day, so just one layer of tape, slide it on. Nice thin BCT, logo down. Jason Day's 2015 bag, Worm's Eye, Tiger's Eye, Jordan Spieth was underrated. What else have I got for you? Must have
pumps.
something.
What else have we done? Yeah, no, it's been a busy one, that. Go on.
Preamble.
Should we go back and start again?
Oh, you know, we should retake that. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Gold Clubs of Cash, for supporting this week's What's in the Bag. Enjoy the PGA Championship next week. Can Jordan do the slam?
I'm right
Do the
behind
slam.
it now because, like I said, I think it's underrated. He's not getting enough credit. I'm big on that Jordan Spieth bandwagon.
Could be happening this time next week.
I really hope it does.
Who knows? And coming up next week, if you don't want to watch the golf, or if you want to listen to us and watch the golf, Joe, Minwoo Lee's our What's in the Bag.
The chef. What's he cooking?
From B2B Australians. B2B cool Australians, actually.
And they're pally, actually, aren't
Yeah,
they?
pally. I think they're cool dudes. They'd be flitting in between these two, I think.
Do you think it starts to get cool
Cool
if we
and
put
uncool.
actual humans on the cool board?
Oh, yeah, we could. We are an equipment podcast, but
That's true.
we don't have to be.
I think we do.
Yeah, we do, and we will continue to be. By the way, don't leave us. But we should move on because we're 4 hours into this episode. Next week, Minwoo Lee, there'll be a cool board, there'll be an Ask the Pod, and there'll be much more of this. Joe, boom.
Links below for the Reebok shoes.
I need them out of here. If you're a size 8, call me. Until then, until next week, goodbye. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.